It was dark, a very dark, rainy night. You know the kind. We had one the other night with the thunder crashing down and the lightning coming in the water. It was a bad night to be out. Yes, everyone knew that. But still, the young man was on the way home. It was raining so hard he couldn't get the windshield wipers to keep the water off. And as he drove right here in Guilford County, because this is supposedly a true story from right here. He would drive along that long, winding road that went from Greensboro to Jamestown. Some of you are going home that way. But it was so dark he could barely see. He was holding the car on the road, and still the rain and thunder and lightning was coming down so hard. He was about to pull over when he saw her. There, standing beside the side of the road, she was. At first he thought it was just a whiff of fog, but then he slowed down. It really was. It was a person. A lady. A beautiful lady in a long, beautiful flowing dress. He thought, what is she doing out here in the middle of the night? So he pulled over and he stopped and got out. Being raised a Southern gentleman like his mama taught him, he was very polite and said, hello, I don't mean to frighten you, but I'd really like to help you. Why are you out here in the middle of the night? When he looked closely at her, he could tell that her hair was all tangled and full of leaves and sticks. That dress that looked so pretty far off, why, it was long but tattered and torn. He didn't act like he noticed, and he just went right on and saying, could I give you a ride? She didn't say a word. It just kind of glided on over to his old jalopy. He got the door open, but she got in the back seat. Stood there. When she passed him, it was so cold, he was just shivering. He had a blanket throw like everybody carried in the car back then. His grandma had crocheted it, and he put it right over her, said, that'll keep you warm. Jumped in the car. Well, by now, he was a single fella, and he was getting kind of excited because she was so beautiful. Of course, she was pale white, and her eyes were so empty. But as he was driving, he was trying to talk to her the whole time, just driving and driving, talking away. He said, now, where are we going? Where you want me to let you off? She didn't say a word, just pointed a long, bony, white, skeletal finger. He about ran off the road, but instead he veered over to the side of the road, because, yep, there it was, up on the hill. You could barely see it, a small house with a light. So he stopped the car, and he was shivering by now. Inside the car was freezing, even though he had a heater. He said, just hold on, I'll come around and let you out. That Southern gentleman. He went around the car, and he was opening up the door for her. He was thinking, how was he going to get to see her again? Maybe ask her to the dance on Saturday night, and getting a little hopeful. And he opened the door, and screamed, because there in the back seat was nothing. It was empty. Nothing but a little damp fog. And he thought, where'd you go? What happened? He looks down the highway this way, looks down the highway that way. He didn't see her anywhere. It was impossible. How did she get out of the car and go up the hill that fast? By now he was shaking like a leaf. He ran up the hill as fast as he could, hoping to catch her before she went in the door. When he got to the door, though, it was closed tight, and the light was barely on. He banged on the door, and when a little elderly lady came and opened it, he could tell she was very, very sad. She said, I know that you brought my daughter, Lydia, home. He was thinking, now, how'd she know that? Yes, ma'am, I brought her home. I was just making sure she got up here okay. The woman just started shaking her head. She said, my dear boy, you see, every year on this night for 25 years, someone has tried to bring my Lydia home. She died right down there in the curve on Jamestown Road, right before the railroad tracks. 25 years ago. But to this day, somebody nice like you tries to bring her home to me. He could hardly believe it. I mean, he was speechless. He thought, well, how was she making up this story? And he said, well, ma'am, I know. She was in my car. She's quite charming. I just wanted to talk to her, make sure. The woman held up her hand and reached over and pulled out a picture, and there in the picture was the girl. She was beautiful, her hair all nice and fixed and pink cheeks. He said, yeah, that's her. The woman just shook her head, and she put it down, got a lantern, an old-timey one, and led the way with her hobbled arthritis out around the house to the burying ground. Now, I know you might think that's strange. Nowadays, we have nice, fancy cemeteries. But back then, you had burying grounds near the house. Well, when they got out there, she pushed open the gate and walked over and pointed a long old finger. And indeed, there was a single white memorial stone, and it had the words carved on it, Lydia. He couldn't say a word, but as he was turning, that was when he saw it. There, draped over the tombstone, was his grandmother's pink crocheted blanket. Now, to this day, they say, if you're along that Jamestown road in the fog and the rain, you too might be lucky enough to see her, standing there in the fog on the side of the road. Stop and pick her up, if you dare. In the pines where the sun never shines, and the cold and the chilly wind blows. True love, won't you come to me? I'll love you forevermore.